example number 21 from the Unit 7 review. So I'm going to rewrite this function. I'm going to write it as log of 1/2 x equals, instead of putting the y, which replaces f of x on the left, I'm going to put it on the right. So I have 1/2, writing in exponential form, raised to the y equals x. Now I'm going to create some points here. So I'm going to start by, as I create these points, I'm going to start by plugging in 0. Anything raised, oh sorry, I meant to do it on the outputs. Anything raised to the 0 power gives us 1. And then I'm going to do a first power. Anything to the first power provides it the exact same value. And then I'm going to do to the -1. Now I know raising something to the -1 simply takes the inside of that fraction and it takes the reciprocal. So if I took this, if this confuses you, if I took this to the -1 and I distribute it, I have 1 to the -1 and 2 to the -1. And it says 1 isn't happy, it goes to the bottom, 2 isn't happy, it goes up top, and we end up with 2 over 1, which is simply 2. Okay, let's see what we can do here. All right, so for this function, this is the parent function of log base 1/2 of x. I have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. I'm going to go to the right 2 and down 1 and right 1, 1, 0, and 1/2 and 1. And I can see I have enough of those points to have an idea of what this looks like. Okay, now let's take a look at what we're doing here. So I'm going to shift this to the right 2, and I'm going to shift it up 1. So I'm going to account for that right now. We're going to go to the right 2. So my vertical asymptote now shifts from x equals 0 to x equals 2. And I'm going to shift up 1. And this is not a dot. I just want you to recognize this is my new origin. Now, there is no negative sign in front of the x. There is no negative sign in front of the log. So I'm going to go back to my parent function here, and I'm going to go to the right 2 and down 1. Right 2 and down 1. And Sarah is in class, and she asked a great question. She said, why are you doing an open circle? Only so it shows up. I should not. Mathematically, I should not leave that as an open circle. That would mean a hole in the graph. Then I'm going to go right 1 and stay. So right 1 and stay. And right 1 and up 1/2. So this is what my points look like. I'm going to color those in. And here's what we have. This is what we have. Okay, now let's take a look at this. Let's count what we have here, okay? So if I count the number of spaces, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I have identified the x-intercept. I have an x-intercept down here at 4, 0. And let's identify the asymptote. We have, sorry, this should not be an asymptote. I don't want you to confuse that. This is not an asymptote here. This is just a vertical shift. I've shifted everything up. This is not an asymptote. The only asymptote that we have discussed from the parent function is going to be our vertical asymptote. It was x equals 0. It is now going to be x equals 2. So this is not a horizontal asymptote, but it did allow me to see what is going to be the shift in the graph. Let's go down to the next one. Okay, so again, the only difference I see is I see this part. I'm not shifting it to the left and right. I want you to see how this is not in parentheses. This simply is a vertical shift up 3. A vertical shift up 3. So I still have the original vertical asymptote of x equals 0. So this is x equals 0. This is this asymptote. And then I'm going to shift everything up 3. So this is going to be the shift up 3. So this is going to be my new origin. This is my new origin. But whenever we have a negative sign out front, is it the x's or the y's? Let's see if you guys remember. Is it the x's or the y's that are impacted by the negative sign out front? The y's, great memory. So I'm going to come over here. I have 2, 1, and 1/2. I'm going to take this times a negative, times a negative, and times a negative. This is my new origin. I'm going to go to the right 2 and up 1. I'm going to go to the right 1. We're at 0. And the right 1/2 and down 1. We can see this basic shape here. This basic shape here as we go. And so the domain, okay, the domain is talking about it can go as far as 0, but it never actually touches 0 in terms of x's. It never actually touches. There's no limit how far it goes to the right. There's no limit how far it goes to the right. So I forgot to figure out, and I did have a student that asked me, what is the x-intercept? When I know the x-intercept, y is always equal to 0. Y is always equal to 0. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to come back to this function. I'm going to plug in 0 for y. I have negative 1 times the log of 1/2 x plus 3. I'm going to subtract 3 to the other side. I'm going to divide by negative 1, and I get 3 equals log of 1/2 x. Then I'm going to write this right now. I'm going to write this right now in exponential form. Remember, exponential form is 1/2 raised to the opposite side equals the answer that's right and back. So if I distribute this 3 to the top and bottom, I get 1 to the third over 2 to the third. 1 to the third is 1, 2 to the third is 8. So this x-intercept is 1 over 8, 0.